The apple harvest season is underway at orchards across Wisconsin, including the Ela Orchard in the Racine County village of Rochester. Cousins Edwin Ela and Bob Willard lead this family-owned and operated farm started by their grandparents nearly a century ago. In addition to producing apples, pears, and fresh cider for generations, the peaceful orchard has also provided the inspiration and some of the source material for books written by a best-selling novelist. Our Sunday morning spotlight is shining on apple farmer, coffee shop owner, and award-winning author Jane Hamilton.
Yes.
With the late summer sun on her face, orchard floor grasses beneath her feet,
The August insects are piping up,
and chorus of dog day cicadas, crickets, and katydids in the air.
which is a very bittersweet sound because it means that school's going to start soon and summer is ending.
Jane Hamilton walks among the rows of McIntosh, Cortland, and more than 30 other varieties of apple trees on the Ela Orchard, a family apple farm she's called home for 40 years.
The place has always, for me, been a refuge.
A place where she fell in love, got married, raised 2 children, nurtured hundreds of trees.
These were planted in 1985 when our son was born. Come on, Pedro. Come on.
And settled into a natural rhythm of rural life that's been a perfect fit for her award-winning writing style.
You wrote this, but it came from the voice of a character in one of your books. It is books that are the key to the wide world. If you can't do anything else, read all you can.
Aww, Ruth. Yeah, reading did save my character's life.
Ruth, the central character of Hamilton's The Book of Ruth, winner of the 1989 Penn Hemingway Foundation Award for Best First Novel.
Here's a little more about the author, Jane Hamilton, who's a regular farm girl.
I think I'd say that in the Book of Ruth, it's made up of about 1/3.
7 years later, sales topped 1 million when The Book of Ruth became the 3rd selection of Oprah Winfrey's book club.
She just radiated interest, compassion, sympathy, and it was amazing to be in the presence of that.
6 more novels would follow, including A Map of the World, another Oprah Book Club selection that was also made into a film starring Sigourney Weaver, Julianne Moore, and David Strathairn.
You want us to bring anything tonight?
Just you and your perfect family.
Like A Map of the World, Hamilton's 7th novel, The Excellent Lombards, is set in rural Racine County. In fact, all of her books have ties to Wisconsin and are based on her life experiences.
I think every book starts with a kernel that is related to some kind of reality, whether it's a story I've heard, not necessarily something in my life, but something I've heard about, or something that has happened in my life that I want to explore. But then the joy of writing fiction is that you just completely change it.
A real-life change of direction came in the summer of '79.
Oh, that's Mary Ela, who would be Bob's aunt.
After graduating from college and before taking a job at a New York City publishing company, Hamilton and a college friend decided to make some extra money harvesting apples at an orchard operated in part by her friend's cousin, Bob Willard.
A man with a job? Wow. Working so hard.
It wasn't long before Jane had shelved her big apple plans for a future with a small-town apple farmer.
And my job in New York City was open-ended, and I didn't really want to work in New York City anyway. So I spent the fall picking apples with you, and one thing led to the next.
Married 40 years ago in this orchard, Jane and Bob have since watched their children grow into adults here, experienced bountiful and lean harvests,
Flames were there. The fire departments got here fast.
and witnessed an outpouring of support after the farm's 114-year-old barn was destroyed by fire last year.
Very gratifying is the reason we were even able to rebuild it is the generosity of the communities.
In a way, it was like being at your own funeral and realizing what you and the family and the land had meant to people.
Thank you, ma'am.
People like Leslie Kinsey,
I first originally met her because I knew of her books, and she did a book signing at the library in Rochester. And I remember coming home and going, honey, she signed my book. She signed my book.
Kinsey manages the coffee shop Hamilton and her husband opened last year in the former Community State Bank building on Main Street in downtown Rochester.
I mean, you know how to troubleshoot. Yay! You're cheerful in the face of adversity. Yay! It's been really wonderful.
The tagline for DW Coffee at the Bank is where great coffee and community intersect.
One of the visions was that this would be a serene place where people with different opinions could come and be serene together. And I think that has been true.
Oh, and very true.
And serenity is what Hamilton thoroughly enjoys on this farm.
Come on. Yes, you know the drill.
It comes from feeding the affectionate goats she's raised here.
And they're just lovely creatures. They're so beautiful. And also, they greet the apple customers. Go.
And by working on her memoir, the next novel, or rewriting a short story from decades ago in a cluttered but comfortable space on the second floor of their farmhouse.
What advice do you have for aspiring writers?
Write in private. Don't really tell people what you're doing because you set up expectations. Oh, you finished with that novel yet? Oh, are you going to get it published?
Also, read your work out loud to yourself and, if you're lucky enough, to a candid yet compassionate listener.
Jane, in addition to writing, raising kids, has been part of the orchard and just, right along has been doing things that kept us going.
But you've left out an important part, which is that you have always been my first reader, really, and when I get a novel to the place where I can do no more, I've read it out loud to you. And you are an extremely good listener. You are a very astute reader, and you have your eyes closed. You say that strawberry jam in the last chapter, why is it raspberry now? You laugh in the right places. You cry at the end. It's been great.
Also great is the opportunity to live on a property where daily rituals are as sweet as a freshly picked Melba.
That's one of the great perks, is just being able to go out and pick an apple for lunch.
Like many of the main characters in her books, Hamilton draws strength from the surrounding landscape and considers it a privilege to call this nearly century-old orchard home.
It's just wonderful to feel both the passage of time and the continuity of the place. And I have the privilege of living in such a beautiful place. I'm very grateful for all of that.